What's up, Israel? Welcome back to the front line. It's your girl, Shamar. Yeah, guys, this week, guys, I want to talk about abandonment. Yeah. Do you know, y'all know that I have a mental health background, right? I do. I have 10 years of intellectual disability services experience and 10 years of mental health experience. In my last position, like my last serious career, guys, I was director of psychosocial rehab services. Yeah, I used to write policies. I had 5 external entities that could come in and audit my program at any time. I worked with folks that were sentenced under NGRI, which is not guilty by reason of insanity. And a lot of people's mental health disorders stem from abandonment. Not saying all of them, guys. Not at all. But a lot of them do. And you want to know what? For Israel, those abandonment issues go back real far. Yeah, they do. You know, if on the front line, our theory is that Ephraim received that blessing. Right, guys? So if Ephraim received the blessing, he went from the last place to the first place. Don't that sound familiar? The first should be last, the last should be first. I mean, that might be New Testament, but we know they get that from somewhere. Some of their belief systems in the New Testament just come from the Old Testament. So, but yeah, he went from last to first. Right, guys? But he would have had uncles, right? He would have had a brother, according to their tribe chart, right? That they want us to believe that they just keep trying to stuff down our throats. He would have had what? 11 uncles and a brother, right? But yet, we see Ephraim standing alone. We see nations surround Israel, which is synonymous with Ephraim, guys. But it suits their purpose to just say Israel. But what I told y'all, guys, we're going to start calling it what it is. Ephraim, right? We're going to start calling it what it is. In Psalms 83, nations, right? They talk about war. Nations surround Israel. Israel's enemies posse up, right? Oh, Assyria, right? They posse up against Israel. Israel stands alone. Let's talk about this war that you never friggin' heard of, right? I never heard of this war until I start researching, specifically Ephraim, right? Now, we heard of this war, but we didn't realize it was specifically about Ephraim, right? This is when Israel got wiped out. We read this story before on the front line, guys, but we have to conceptualize that this is Ephraim now. All right, guys, so we're going to go back to this war and just point out a few things that maybe we didn't really pay attention to before. Because like I told y'all, right, in the last couple of episodes, if this blessing didn't go to Ephraim, why Ephraim standing alone? Why didn't people rush over to go help Ephraim? Like, oh, you know why? They can't stand Ephraim, just like they couldn't stand Joseph. Ephraim has the blessing, so we got to get rid of Ephraim. Yes, we do. So let's cover this war that we're going to call the Syro-Ephramite War. All right? It says this conflict between a coalition of states, including Israel and Syria, against Judah is the political background to the first section of the book of Isaiah. It's also described in the books of Kings and Chronicles. All right. Now, remember, I told you guys we're going to get into the fact that there's supposedly 3 Isaiahs. All right, let's get to the next paragraph. Before this time, Tiglath-Pileser III of Assyria, also known as Pul, started expanding his empire to the southwest. King Menahem of Israel had to pay tribute to him to persuade him to withdraw from Israel. Tiglath-Pileser later returned during reign of Pekah and conquered all of northern Galilee. So this king over here is expanding his territory. You understand what I'm saying? It sounds like annexation, right? Didn't we see that recently of some nations annexing other nations? So this is all that Assyria is doing. But it happens to be doing this to what country, what nation? Israel. All right, let's go to the next paragraph. While Ahaz reigned in the south, which is Judah, okay, Pekah reigned in the north, okay, which was Israel. Pekah was threatened by Assyria and formed a coalition with Syria, Ascalon, and Gaza. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3. 3 nations choose to stand with Israel, right? Now, today we're going to only talk about Syria because for some odd reason I didn't remember the other 2 nations. I got to keep it real with y'all. So I'll go back and research the other 2 nations in the coming weeks, right? Because around here we like to research names and the people's backgrounds, right? So we can figure out who are these people from ancient time to possibly modern time, how they fit into this story, right? So I researched Syria. I didn't research Ascalon and Gaza, right? But I'll go back to those. The ancient nations, not the modern, right? All right, so let's keep going. Ahaz was invited to join the coalition. So now who's Ahaz again? Ahaz is the king of Judah. So they invite Ahaz to join this coalition, but he refused. So the coalition led by King Rezin of Syria attacked Judah. Okay, this nation right here said, wait a minute, you ain't gonna join your nephew in battle against Assyria? You're not gonna join them? So this King Rezin wasn't feeling that, because he realized, like, yo, Judah and Israel are family. You understand what I'm saying? So he's not feeling that when King Pekah, who reigned in the north, asks, okay, King Ahaz to join the coalition, right? And he refuses. King Rezin's like, yo, what is this? We don't recognize this type of stuff here in our country. It's seeming like the type of people Syria is, at least ancient Syria. They don't roll like that. They don't know nothing about not backing their family, is what it looked like to me. So they attacked Judah. Attacks began under the reign of Jotham. All right, let's scroll up. All right. Israel and Syria attacked separately and jointly. Ahaz was captured by Rezin and taken to Damascus, and captives were taken to Samaria. Edom took advantage by attacking Judah at the same time. Rezin and Pekah's plan was to usurp Ahaz and put the son of Tabel as an anti-Assyrian puppet on the Davidic throne, right? Because they know there's a crew of folks that follow the Davidic throne, right? The whole southern kingdom. The whole southern kingdom is following the Davidic throne, so they want to put a puppet on the line. All right. Thus destroying the Davidic line, like very well needed to be done, right? Because there is no inheritance in the house of David. Go to your tents, Israel. Ahaz was afraid when the house of David was told Syria is in league with Ephraim. His heart and the heart of his people shook as the trees of the forest shake before the wind. As Ahaz was going to inspect the water supply, Isaiah met him with a prophetic word. Which Isaiah, huh? Which Isaiah met him with a prophetic word? We got to dig on that, guys. Because we don't know if this word was to benefit Israel or Judah. We got to figure out which Isaiah this was. And, was he saying things that align with Israel, guys, or with Judah? We have to dig into that. But anyway, let's get to this. It says, Isaiah met him with a prophetic word. Take heed. Be quiet, do not fear, and do not let your heart be troubled because of these two smoldering stumps of firebrand. So he's calling Syria and he's calling Israel a smoldering stump. Okay, so I don't think that that's favorable to Israel, but he could just be speaking facts too. So, like I said, we got to dig on that more. At the anger of Rezin in Syria, and the son of Remaliah, which is Pekah, Ahaz was given the choice to trust in Assyria or to trust in God, right? The choice is not between being pro or anti-Assyrian, but to be pro-God. Isaiah offered Ahaz the prophetic sign of his choosing to confirm that his word concerning Samaria and Rezin was true. He warned that consequence of not trusting God and calling upon Assyria for protection would lead to invasion by Assyria. So remember, I told y'all that, yes, Assyria invades Israel, but later on it invades Judah. You understand what I'm saying? Because you can't get in bed with these type of people and expect that they're going to treat you fairly, that this ain't no rabid dog that ain't going to turn on you. You understand what I'm saying? That this ain't no wild animal that you can just trust like that, okay? So it says here, Ahaz refused God's offer to trust him and called on Assyria, just like we read, right? He called on Assyria to assist him in defeating his enemies. Now, notice they're going to just put enemies just as broad as can be, but this was Israel that was called on, right? That Judah called Assyria on Israel. That's who these enemies were. They're going to just try to broadly write this because I told you Judah is writing this. So Judah don't want you to catch on. Hey, I betrayed my family. You understand what I'm saying? So we're going to use broad words like enemies, when what Judah did was call on Assyria to wipe out Israel. All right. It says that contrasts with Hezekiah, who did trust God. Assyria gladly accepted Ahaz's request and invaded Syria and Israel. What did I say? What did I say? Ahaz requested this. Syria was happy to invade because, see, Syria loved it loved to run campaigns of terror. All right. That was one of its favorite things to do. Read up on Assyria, how they would staple the skins of their enemies to the buildings. Guys, this is what they did to Israel. All right, it says, firstly, Galilee was captured by Assyria. Then the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half Manasseh were captured. Syria was taken. Now, I'll have to dig into that and see if that's factual. The tribes Then the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half Manasseh were captured. Might be true, yes, because half of Manasseh did stay with Ephraim. I told y'all that in earlier weeks when we talked about Ephraim, right? It wouldn't surprise me that Reuben would have stayed. With Ephraim, because remember, Reuben was the one that tried to talk the brothers out of killing Joseph, right, and just selling them into captivity instead, right? They wanted to kill him. And I want to say Gad is born of Rachel's handmaid. So let's keep going. Syria was taken and Rezin killed. And like I said, I could be mistaken some of this history, because when we start getting into all of these names and all of these family members, it can get a bit confusing, guys. So if I make a mistake, shout me out. Say, yo, Shamar, actually Gad was such and such, or you know what I mean? All right, so let's keep going. Syria was taken and Rezin killed. All right, so the king was killed. All right, of the northern kingdom, Samaria alone was left and held out until 722. So Rezin was killed. Rezin was the king of Syria. That's right. Yeah, he was the one that, wow, yeah. Because see, now Judah definitely had a beef with Rezin, because remember, Rezin attacked him. So Judah ran off to his enemy and made sure this king was wiped out. Of the northern kingdom, Samaria alone was left and held out until Pekah was assassinated. So who assassinated this king? And Hoshea was placed as a puppet king on the throne of Samaria. So here's some more history, guys, that we got to dig into. I had Young Dragon send me a really good book, guys, but the timing is really bad for me to dig into this book just now. But trust me, I got to get into this book, guys, and I'll share the name and the link probably in the community page, guys. Unfortunately, right now, I'm working a full-time job and a part-time, so bear with me, guys. But thank you, guys, for all of the content as it pertains to Ephraim. So let's keep going. Ahaz's alliance backfired on him. Assyria turned around and invaded Judah. What did I tell you? These people are rabid dogs, all right, causing much damage. Judah became a vassal of Assyria, had to pay tribute, and was forced to recognize the Assyrian gods, which included building an altar like one in Damascus in the Jerusalem temple. All right, so these folks are captured. They begin to recognize the Assyrian gods and pay tribute. Remember, I told you guys, there is a difference between being conquered, which is what happened to Israel, versus being captured. Okay, when you're captured, you pretty much assimilate to the nation that captured you. Okay, so that's all Judah did. Alright, guys, that's all they did. Now you'll call it what it really was. The Syro-Ephramite War, guys. So let's check this out. I told you guys that I got into this nation right here, right? That was supporting Israel, right? What is the significance of Syria, Aram in the Bible? Some translations of the Bible use the word Syria. Others use the word Aram. But both names refer to the same nation, guys. It's going to refer to the same nation. The borders of Syria or Aram are much the same as they were in biblical times, with a central location being its capital, Damascus. All right? Syria/Aram plays a significant role throughout the Bible. Following the worldwide flood mentioned in Genesis, Shem became the father of Aram. Okay, guys, so wouldn't this make him a Shemite? Whose descendants became the people known as the Arameans, okay, who settled in the area of Mesopotamia. Later, God called Abraham from that area. In Canaan, Abraham sent his servant to find Isaac a wife, and he sent the servant to his brother's family, who lived in Aram, Naharaim, near Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Rebekah and her brother Laban both lived in Aram. And Jacob is later recorded as fleeing to Paddan Aram. Because of Jacob's long stay in the area of Aram, he's later referred to as a wandering Aramean. The Aramean also fought against Israel frequently in the Old Testament. One of the earliest conflicts with Aram was during the time of the Judges, when the king of Aram, Naharaim, was used by God to subject the Israelites for 8 years because of their idolatry. Alright, so these people go back in time with us and are related, okay? Because it's looking like Jacob comes out of this specific region, okay? And they recognize they're related. Alright, they just recognize maybe in their mind they're not as closely related as Judah would have been, and this is why that king from Aram raised up against Judah. Like, how you gonna let your brother stand with some other nations, right? Sorry, your nephew. Alright, once the Israelites repented, God raised up Othniel, Caleb's younger brother, to free them from Arameans. During the time of the kings, the Arameans often fought against Israel, especially in David's reign. Now, I wonder why these people just did not like David. I wonder why. Could it be somebody from David was trying to tell them that some son coming to rescue them? Like some people from David still are doing today. Could that have been a narrative? Possibly. We're not getting the full narrative, but it wouldn't be far-fetched, now would it? Because Judah loved to tell you some sons coming to save you. Alright? If it ain't David himself, it's JC. Okay. So is that probably why the Arameans couldn't stand people from David's line? Let's keep going. Ben-Hadad, one of the more powerful rulers of Aram, fought against the northern kingdom of Israel, but he failed in his attack because the Lord promised to give the vast Aramean army into King Ahab's hands. All right, now don't forget who's writing it, because now that's coming out of Kings. All right, I would trust more what's coming out of Samuel and Judges versus Kings, but we'll get into that later. We're just going over some of the history. All right, so we right here at furthermore. Furthermore, it was at the hand of Arameans that the wicked Ahab met his ruin, as the prophet Micaiah had prophesied. All right. Interestingly, Paul's conversion experience happened in the geographical location of Damascus in Syria. See, now, this must be a very important area that Judah feel like it needs to add it to the story of Paul, right? Yeah, because Judah's the one that brought you back all of these fantastical tales, guys. So whether or not the Arameans are direct descendants of Ephraim, they related, and they must be so important that regions in their territory got to be brought up in the New Testament, right? All right, let's keep going. Yeah, there's these stories of JC right here from the book of Acts. So they're going to include the Syrian city of Antioch as well. So they're including cities from this nation in their stories and their fantastical tales, guys. So these people must be of major importance, okay? You see who they're descended from, all right? Do what you want with that, guys. Do what you want with that. But they're direct descendants of Shem. And they're not thrilled that Judah don't stand up for his brother. So now let's see what this name means. Elevated or citadel. Let's see. landmark in Charleston. I'm trying to get to a definition for you guys, but they're bringing up other things. Let's see. It must be a show associated. Oh, but it's the meaning. Here we go. A fortress that commands a city and is used in the control of the inhabitants and in defense during attack or siege. Okay, so you got a boatload of names. All right, it's from the verb rum, to be high. All right, you got a plethora of names that are associated with this word. All right, so you guys can pause this and look over some of those names, familiarize yourself. You can go to the site and click on some of the names, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on the names. But you might find something that I didn't have time to look at. All right, let me know. There are one country and several men named Ephraim in the Bible. The country named Ephraim in the Bible is now called Syria, which lies directly to the north of Israel, the east of present-day Lebanon, which capital was and still is Damascus. Aram/Syria is not to be confused with Assyria, okay guys, which was a country and later an empire to the far northeast of Israel. In the wake of the Bronze Age collapse, see our article on the name Hellas. The Arameans migrated from Mesopotamia south to modern Syria, which explains the similarity of the names of these two regions. Assyria's capital was Nineveh, which, guys, translates to seat of power, of which today only ruins remain. The Greek decided to call Aram Syria and rendered the name to Assyria, which caused considerable confusion. Yeah, because they want to confuse you. But confusion already abounded since the Semitic-speaking people referred to regions in Assyria with names that contained Aram. See, for instance, Padam Aram and Aram Naharaim. In Roman times, Syria became a Roman district just north of Israel. That's why Matthew could write that news about JC went out into all Syria. All right, other biblical Arams are a son of Shem, who was the firstborn son of Noah. All right, his progeny became Aramean, who peopled the country of Aram. So these are Semitic people, guys, that stand with Ephraim. A son of Kemuel, who was a son of Nahor with Milcah, the brother and niece of Abraham. All right, a son of Shimmer, a son of Heber, son of Beriah, son of Asher, the 8th son of Jacob, and the 2nd of Zilpah. A district in Gilead, a region in Mesopotamia. Finally, the King James and Darby translation list an Aram in the genealogy of JC, but this Greek Aram is due to an odd transliteration of the Hebrew name Ram. Some modern English versions of the Bible speak of Ram. Many others have Arni. The name Aram comes probably from the common Hebrew verb rum, meaning to be high or rise up. The verb rum means to be high or high up in either a physical, social, or even attitudinal sense, and may also refer to the apex in a natural process, the being ripe and ready for harvest of fruits. Guys, this is going to trip y'all out. Watch this. Subsequently, our verb may imply a state beyond ripe, higher than ripe, overripe, which thus refers to rotting and being maggot-riddled. This means that to the ancient, higher did not simply mean better, and an arrogant political status that was higher than it should be equaled rot and worms. Derived nouns such as rum and related forms as Rama describe height or pride. Nouns Ramet describes some high thing. The noun Armon refers to a city's apex, a citadel or palace. The noun Reem describes the wild ox, which was named possibly for the same reason why we moderns call a rising market a bull market. The similar verb, Ra'am, means to rise. Now this Reem reminds me of some names that we'll go with, like Shakim or Rahim or Kareem, right? That "ing" on the end. Interesting. The important noun Reeman means pomegranate, and pomegranate became the symbol for harvest-ready fruit. See our full dictionary article for more on this. Overripe items might suffer the noun Rema, worm or maggot, or the verb Ramam, to be wormy. Interesting, right? Given what we know about the serpent over here, okay, guys? The noun Armon means citadel, is thought to derive from the root room, which, according to the BDB Theological Dictionary, is probably a biform of the Hebrew verb rum, and which is identical to our name Aram, which means that the name Aram is possibly derived from the root that also gave us the word for citadel. The name Aram, in fact, may derive from the idea of a global capital, which John the Revelator calls the New Jerusalem. All right, so for the meaning of the name Aram, Jones' Dictionary of Old Testament proper names reads high, elevated. The NOBSE Study Bible name list reads elevated. But these people, right, derive from an idea of a global capital, the name. All right, guys, that they must have had a great belief in the idea of Israel. I mean, through Israel, all nations are to be blessed. All right, that looked like family to me, guys. And it looks like they are very familiar with this verse right here. Because, as a nation, you could have found yourself on either side of this, right? Right? You make a choice as a nation to either be a nation that blesses Israel or that curses Israel. Creator says right here, I'll bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all people on earth will be blessed through you. That is a promise. That's a promise to Israel, guys. Look at this. And I will bless those who bless you. That is subject to my wrath and judgments. The ones who curse, despise, dishonor, and have contempt for you. All nations of the earth will be blessed through you, because you will restore the balance to this earth. Our men will get out here and restore the vineyards. This will restore the balance to our earth, guys. That is what's to be had from Israel being at the will. You understand? We restore the balance. There was a coalition of nations. And there certainly was, and I showed you guys that. And I wouldn't want to be one of those nations. I sure wouldn't want to be. Okay? caught up in anything silly. I really wouldn't. Okay, guys. There was one last thing I wanted to check before I scroll out of here with you guys. Hold on. We needed to look and see what Syria meant. It had it highlighted in here. And I meant for us to see what Syria meant according to them. Social synchronicity and collective felicity, populism. From the verb asher, to go straight, or the noun happiness, to draw or drag alone. So did asher stand with us? We gotta dig on this a little more, guys. I mean, I don't know. But what I will tell you guys is whenever I got time, this is definitely what I'll be doing, is digging more into, and those other two nations that stood with us. What were they, guys? I'll go back to that text and find it. But yeah, this is a good dig, guys. But actually, no. Guys, I forgot. Syria is the Greek naming of, Syria is the Greek naming of Aram. So I don't know that that's a trustworthy word to even decide to research even more, given that seems like Aram was the name that Israel was using. Okay? Alright, guys. Well, much love to you guys, and thank y'all for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week. Alright? Take care.